Welcome to this new video. Today we are going to study about atoms and molecules, the third chapter of science class 9, that is atoms and molecules. In this chapter we will study about the origin of the concept of atoms and molecules and the laws of chemical combinations, as well as the primitive idea about the atomic model or the theory of atomic concepts regarding the structure of matter, means atomic theory of matter. This will be discussed in this chapter. Let us start with the historical background of this chapter, that is concept of atoms. Initially it was realized that matter is a continuous form of materials, means anything which we observe with our naked eyes are continuous, but ancient Indian and Greek philosophers came to the conclusion that matter is not a continuous form of materials, but it is composed of discrete units, means matter is not continuous, it is composed of minute structural units. The first attempt in this direction was made by Indian scientists or philosopher, you may say. The scientists of the present age were considered in ancient times as philosophers, means those people who want to know about the mystery of the nature, the facts of the nature, the truth of the nature, they were called philosophers. The philosophical ideas emerged due to the continuous and deep thinking about the matter, which is based on some logical aspects. So depending on the logical aspects of such ancient philosophers, among them the first Indian philosopher known as Maharshi Kanath, who proposed a concept about the matter, that matter is actually made up of minute structural particles, and beyond which the further division cannot be possible. So the ultimate structural particles of matter is called Parmanu. He proposed that suppose a particular thing, just like a piece of gold or iron or any such materials, when gets broken into two pieces, each piece will have the same properties as that of the previous single rod. If we try to divide each piece further into two more pieces, we will get the smaller pieces of the same material. In the same way, if we continue to divide the piece of such material again and again, we get the smaller and smaller particles of that material which have the same features, same properties as the starting material. Means whatever will the properties of the gold or the iron taken initially is the same as that of is the same exhibited by the divided particles. So ultimately we may consider that suppose the division is continued up to a certain limit beyond which it is not possible to divide such a substance into further smaller particles. So these ultimate particles of the matter is called Parmanu. The similar idea was developed by the Greek philosopher Democritus. He also suggested the same type of notions by the logical aspects, in the same way that if we try to divide a particular rod of a metal into more and more times, then ultimately a state will achieved or reached when it becomes difficult to divide it further. So the ultimate particles beyond which division is not possible was called atom. Democritus proposed the idea that atoms are indivisible, means it is not possible to divide these are smaller than a smallest particle. So the atom, the word atom has been coined for this ultimate particles. It is composed of two words, A plus tomos. A means not, tomos means division, means the ultimate particle of a matter which is beyond further division, means which cannot be divided into even a smaller particles than that. So this is the concept of the structural units of matter, and that is atom. But these ideas about the concept of atom or the discrete form of matter was totally based on the hypothetical manner or by the logical way. There was no scientific base for having such ideas. These are based on only the thinking or the logic. So very much later, in the 17th or 18th century, the Lavoisier, which was a scientist who have laid the foundation stone of chemical science, and that is why Lavoisier is considered as the father of chemistry. Means the scientific study of the matter was started by Lavoisier, who have performed rigorous experiment, and the ideas come up. From these experiments, which were coined in the form of laws of chemical combinations. So laws of chemical combinations are the starting of the systematic study or the scientific study of the chemical science. There are 5 such laws proposed by different scientists based on different experiments, their generalizations. So first of all, let us start with laws of constant mass, law of conservation of mass. So what do we mean by law of conservation of mass? This is the first law of chemical combination. Actually, the ancient scientist Pakkuda Kottayamma proposed that when different types of atoms combine together, means different elements combine together, they form the compound. But how these elements combine together to form compounds was not explained on the basis of scientific experiment or the scientific study. So the first attempt in this direction was made by Lavoisier, who proposed the law of chemical combination, and it is commonly known as law of conservation of mass. According to this law, when chemical substances which are initially taken are called reactants. So when chemical substances react together chemically to form a product, means when 2 or more chemical substances combine, they form some products. It was found that whatever be the masses of the reactants taken initially was found to be the same even after completion of the reaction. It means there is no loss of mass during a chemical reaction. The masses of the reactants remain the same even after the formation of product, means after completion of reaction. So this is called law of conservation of mass. Suppose 2 elements A and B, suppose A and B are 2 different elements or chemical substance that react together to form C and D. Suppose A and B are reactants. These reactants may be 2 elements, 1 element or a compound, or 2 compounds. 2 compounds. So whatever be the reactants, that is elements, compounds, or both. So suppose A and B are 2 elements which react together to form the products C and D. Further, let the mass taken of A equal to Ma and that of B equal to Mb. So if Ma combines with Mb, mass of A, that is Ma, amount of A, combines with Mb and forms the product Mc and Md. Then according to the law of conservation of mass, Ma plus Mb equal to Mc plus Md. Means sum of the masses of reactants is equal to sum of the masses of the products, provided that no matter get escaped during the reaction or the experimentation, either in the form of gas, liquid, or any other forms. So if the experiment is performed inside the closed chamber, inside the closed container, and if we measure the weight of the products after completion of the reaction, there will be no change in mass of the product. So this is known as law of conservation of mass. This was proposed by Lavoisier in the year 1774. Now let us try to understand it with an example. Suppose we are going to perform a precipitation reaction in which no gaseous product is formed. Let BaCl2, suppose barium chloride. Barium chloride is a colorless solution. Barium chloride, BaCl2 aqueous solution is added to ferrous sulfate or any sulfate, aluminum sulfate or anything. So sodium sulfate, suppose that Na2SO4 or FeSO4, FeSO4, ferrous sulfate aqueous. We will have a white precipitate of barium sulfate, means BaSO4 solid plus FeCl3 or FeCl2, ferrous chloride, means here. Now FeSO4, when BaCl2, barium chloride, is treated with ferrous sulfate, we will have the barium sulfate and ferrous chloride. What do we observe here? Whatever be the masses of these two taken initially is found to be the same even after the formation of products. In this reaction, no gaseous product is generated, and that is why we can perform this experiment in a closed container without escaping any fraction of the either reactants or products out of the container. That is why such type of experimentation were performed. Number of experiments lead to the same idea, that is same result, that is masses. Some of the masses of the reactants before the reaction was found to be some of the masses of the products after the reaction. So this was the law of conservation of mass. So from this law of conservation of mass, we come to the conclusion that there is no loss, either creation or formation of new mass during the chemical reaction. Whatever be the masses of the chemical substances taken initially was found to be same even after the completion of reaction. Now let us come to the second law of conservation of mass, that is law of definite proportion or law of fixed proportion. This law was proposed by Louis Proust. Louis Proust in 1774. Now this law states that two or more elements combined together in a definite proportion by their masses, means a particular reaction takes place to form the product only when they combine in a definite ratio by their mass. Suppose that we want to study about the formation of water. What do we see here? Water is formed by the reaction of H2 plus O2, H2O. After balancing, we will have 2H2 plus O2, 2H2O, means two walls. one wall, two walls. Means hydrogen and oxygen will react together only when they combine in the ratio of 2:1 by their volumes. Means two volumes of hydrogen when completely combines with one volume of oxygen, we will get two volumes of water vapor. If we convert this in terms of mass, then we will have 4 grams. 4 grams of hydrogen when combined with 32 gram of oxygen, we will have 36 gram of water. 36 gram. Now what is the ratio? 4:32 means 1:8. So this is the minimum ratio by which when hydrogen and oxygen combined by mass, they form water. Means 1 gram of hydrogen when combines with 8 grams of oxygen, we will have 9 grams of water. Unless we provide this fixed amount of oxygen and hydrogen, we will not get the given means 9 gram of water. So in order to have a particular compound by the reaction of 2 or more elements, they must combine in a definite ratio. So this was the law of definite proportion. In the same way, suppose that we want to have sodium chloride. So in sodium chloride, sodium and chlorine are present in a fixed ratio by their masses. Just like, see here, NaCl. NaCl, the ratio of sodium and chlorine is 23:35.5. Means in a given compound, the ratio of their constituent elements remained the same. That is fixed. Whatever be their methods of preparation or the sources of extraction or even the sources of recovery. So whatever be the things, we will have the same ratio, just like sodium and chlorine are always present in a ratio 23/35.5 by mass. So such a chemical reaction takes place in a definite ratio of their the masses of their constituent elements. So this is nothing but the law of definite proportion. So these two laws are mentioned here to be discussed. However, there are other 3 laws of chemical combinations: the law of multiple proportion, law of equivalent proportion, and the law of gaseous reactions. These 3 laws will be discussed in higher classes, but the third law, which is basically important here for studying the Dalton's atomic theory, means the law of multiple proportion. This law of multiple proportion was given by John Dalton, the English scientist, he proposed that when two elements combine together in more than one ratio, suppose that when two elements combine together in different proportions by their mass or volume, different proportion by their masses and volume, we will have different types of compounds. Different types of compounds. Suppose that when carbon combines with oxygen, carbon and oxygen can form two types of chemical compounds, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. In carbon dioxide, carbon combines with sufficient amount of oxygen, means maximum oxidation of carbon results into the formation of carbon dioxide. So in carbon dioxide, the ratio of carbon and oxygen is different from the ratio of carbon and oxygen in carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is the compound formed when carbon combines with oxygen in its scarcity, where there is a scanty availability of carbon dioxide, mean insufficient amount of insufficient amount of oxygen is there, then carbon doesn't form carbon dioxide. An intermediate oxidation product, that is carbon monoxide, will be generated. So carbon monoxide is the intermediate oxidation product, because carbon monoxide may further be oxidized to carbon dioxide when it is allowed to react with oxygen. So carbon monoxide will have different ratio of their masses in CO2. In CO2, mean ratio of C is to O equal to 3:8. Why? Means in this there is 12:32, means 3:8. But in case of CO, it is 12:16, means 3:4. So in case of carbon monoxide, the ratio of carbon and oxygen is different. In case of carbon monoxide, the masses of the carbon and oxygen are in the ratio of 3:8 and that of carbon monoxide 3:4. So this law states that suppose two elements, suppose a particular element combined with a third element or combined with the second element in a whose mass is fixed. See here, 8 grams of oxygen combines with 3 grams of carbon, and in this case 4 grams of oxygen combines with 3 grams of carbon. So here in these two compounds, the ratio of the variable mass of one element that combines with the fixed mass of the other element, means carbon, bears a simple ratio, that is mass of oxygen in H2O, mass of oxygen O2 in CO2 by mass of O2 in CO, that combined with the constant mass of carbon bears a ratio, means 32:16, means 2:1. This is a simple ratio. So the law of multiple proportion states that when two elements combine together to form more than two compounds in which a given element, variable mass of a given element that combines with the constant mass of other element bears a simple ratio, as we have seen here, the variable mass of oxygen bears a simple ratio, that is 2:1 in CO2 and CO. This is all about the law of multiple proportion. We will discuss the Dalton's law of atomic theory in the next video. Thank you very much.